Look Outreach is underwritten by the generous support of Munter Enterprises. Family owned and operated since 1972, integrity is important, as our family name is on every project. Our word is our bond. Munter Enterprises. Just build it.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, let's face it, healthcare is a very important topic today for a number of reasons. I think the primary one is that it's changing so rapidly and the population is changing so rapidly. Well, recently, the Stanton Nursing Home in Glens Falls changed ownership with a company that specializes in what I'm talking about throughout the country. And joining me today is the administrator for the Glens Falls Center, Shannon McHale. Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you.
Very nice to have you here.
Nice to be here.
You know, as somebody who's rapidly aging myself, it's no secret that a couple of things I'd like to cover. First is you've been involved in the healthcare business. I think you were telling me pretty much your whole professional career.
My whole professional career has been dedicated to long-term care services and rehabilitation services. Got
you. Now, let's just take 30 years of that, okay? Mm-hmm. And so you must have started very young then. So
yes, of course.
30 years ago, what was it like compared to what you're seeing today?
I think the biggest change is the acuity level of the patients. What we see now, the level of services that we provide are far greater, and we provide far more acute services than we did traditionally.
Got it. For our viewers who may not completely understand what that means, let's talk about acute services. Let's go back. What did people originally come to long-term health care for?
Well, when you think traditionally of a nursing home resident, you would think of basically grandma or grandpa coming into the nursing home, living out their days. And we do provide long-term care services, but now we focus more on rehab services. And we have a short-term population along with our long-term care population, where we provide occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, respiratory care services. Those services you wouldn't traditionally think of when you think of a nursing home.
Sure. I think that's got to do, what's the phrase, 80 is the new 60 or something,
yes,
you know?
Yes.
So, you tend to think that in subtle ways, but also, I think, in also very overt ways, the population ages almost in a way that they go in kicking and screaming, They want to maintain their sense of individualness, and they want to remain healthy. They want to remain active, right? Don't you run into this? Right?
Well, one of our primary goals is to enhance their level of independence. To keep that, we want to keep somebody as independent as they can possibly be throughout their stay with us, whether that's short term or long term.
Let's talk about short term versus long term, because to go back to your point that maybe 30 years ago was a place that grandma or grandpa went to live out the rest of their days. But you have situations now where people in this age group will be in the hospital for a broken hip or something, right? So they get the acute care there, but they can't stay in the hospital for the duration of the rehabilitation.
Correct.
But they would come to you in that case.
And they would come to us, and we provide the services that they need, and we provide them with discharge planning services, and we develop goals with them so that we take them through the rehab process, and we get them to where they need to be, whether that be home or an alternate level of care.
I've got it. Now, I would imagine that one of the other changes also might be the way that you just handle their nutritional needs, right?
Yes.
Again, going back 30 years, it probably wasn't as specific as it is now, given the personality of this age group, right? So what do you deal with in terms of nutrition?
We provide all different types of nutrition depending on what the patient needs. We do offer altered diets, specialized diets. We even do tube feedings, that kind of thing when necessary.
Right, sure.
And we provide a full range of nutritional services. We talk to the resident when they come in. We decide what their preferences are. We have conversations with them, and we work with them as far as what their needs are.
It sounds to me, I don't know if I have the right term for this, but you almost need to have a good social services staff or person at the facility to really work with a family and work with that individual. I mean, with the individual, it might be something like, creating activities for that person, correct? But in terms of social services, help a family decide, you know, they recognize that mom and dad can't quite cut it on their own anymore. And that, you know, who do they talk to, right?
Well, we take every resident that comes in, we develop an individualized care plan for. We take a team approach to services. So we have a whole team together, you know, a rehab team, nutritional services, social services, dietary services, nutritional services. All together we develop a plan individualized, specific to the residents, so that we can make sure that we meet their goals and they're happy with our care and content with staying with us.
Imagine a certain amount of follow-through with the families, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Upon discharge, I mean, depending on what the person's needs are, you know, discharge planning can start from day one, so that we make sure that we're in tune with the family, so that people are on the same page throughout the process.
And I imagine by discharge, she means that if you are there on a temporary basis, that you've come out of the hospital with acute care needs, and you're following through with the rehab, and then at some point that person then will leave the facility and go back home, but also they may stay there, or could be one other thing, that they're moving there, right?
Correct.
Yes, yeah,
Correct.
yeah, got it, okay. So funny, I'm thinking of the questions that I was asking you, because I'm thinking of my own parents, you know, and I'm sure a lot of you are doing the same thing. I think it's important to note that the first step in recognizing that maybe mom or dad is not exactly going to be able to cut it is to reach out to an organization like Glens Falls Center and Shannon and her team and just ask for advice. Right?
Certainly, we'd be happy to talk with anyone that has questions about our services.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for coming in. I get a lot of people asking me about this topic, and you covered it really well, so thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And very nice to meet you. To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.